So here's what you need to know when you are onboarding a new client for your SMMA business in 2021. Welcome back to another video. My name is Adam, and today, like I mentioned, I'm going to discuss with you what you need to know when you're onboarding or taking on a new client for your business. Okay, so let's set the scene. You have just got off the phone with a prospect and they want to work with you. Your next steps are to basically send over the onboarding information. And the goal of you sending over all this onboarding information is, one, to get yourself a client and to actually lock in that deal, but two, is to make the whole process of getting paid and you actually delivering the service to them as smooth as possible. Because that gray area right there between getting paid and delivering the work, that's where a client will decide if they want to keep working with you or if they don't. This is your first chance to really impress your client and to make sure that they don't stay with you for 1 or 2 months, but actually stay with you for 5, 6, 7, or even 8 months. Now, the onboarding process for a new client is obviously going to depend on what your business does. If you run an SMMA business, I'm going to give you some general guidelines that you can follow. Now, I don't want to overcomplicate this. I want to make it super basic, but I also want to make sure that you understand that this is not something that you need to spend hours and hours preparing until you actually have a paying client. The reason I say that is because you could spend 2 to 3 hours building out the most amazing onboarding system, but if you could put those 2 to 3 hours into trying to get clients, you'll probably actually get to implement the onboarding process a lot quicker because you'll have a client sooner rather than later. But nonetheless, it is important, so let's get into it. So there's 4 key stages that I'm going to walk you through, and these are kind of the 4 areas that I look at when I'm onboarding a new client. Now, when I say I onboard a new client, I don't personally do it. My agency does it. I've got team members that handle most of that process for me, but I'm just going to walk you through the process as if I do it myself. So step number 1, this is exactly what we focus on for the first step, right? It's get payment, get them to sign the proposal, get them to book an onboarding call, and finally get them to fill out an onboarding form. So those are the 4 things that I send over straight away to a new client. We make sure we get paid, usually through Stripe or PayPal. We send over a proposal or a rough contract, which is usually done with PandaDoc. We get them to book in an onboarding call, which is usually done through Calendly. And finally, we send over the onboarding form, which is just made with Google Forms. Now, all 4 of those things can be sent in one email to a new client. So it makes it super easy for them to just get on board with you. Now, if you're on the phone with a potential client and they want to go ahead and work with you, you don't always have to wait and send them all this information afterwards. What you can do is take payment on the phone. And to be honest, that's what I do with most of my clients. Not all of the clients, and it's not something I push heavily, but if the time is right and it feels like a good fit, sometimes we're going to push for them to actually pay on the phone. So in that case, I'll prepare a Stripe invoice, send it over to them over the phone, they'll put in their details and we'll get the payment. If that is the case, then I only need to send 3 things: the proposal, the onboarding call, and the onboarding form. The onboarding form is really important, right? That's where they give us like branding materials, brand documents, a bit of information about who their ideal customer is, because all of that stuff right there is really going to help us as the marketers. Onboarding call is really important. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but you set expectations here, so if you skip this stage, things can get messy very quickly. Getting paid is obviously critically important, and getting them to sign the contract or proposal is also very important. Your proposal and contract doesn't need to be crazy detailed. It just needs to show them what you're doing, how much they got to pay you, and any time lengths that they've got to commit to working with you. Maybe that's 2 months, 3 months, or even 4 months. Okay, so that is step number 1 done. So for my clients, this is what step number 2 looks like. We invite them into Slack, GoVisually, Google Drive, and Asana. Slack is where we handle communication back and forth with our clients. Google Drive is where we keep pretty much all of their information. GoVisually is a platform that we use to review graphical designs with our clients. Okay, so we do a lot of content creation, so it makes sense for us. If you don't do content creation, you're not going to need this platform. And Asana is where we basically handle all of the clients as one big project. So instead of having, you know, bits on Slack, bits on Google Drive, bits on GoVisually, it all comes together in Asana. And step number 3 of the onboarding process is where we pretty much get to work. Okay, so we research their brand and their company, and we make sure that we understand everything that they have given us. So if they've given us information in the onboarding form and we're about to have that onboarding call in a few days, we want to do that research and wow them to show them that we've done our research and we know exactly what their brand stands for. And step number 4 is to hop on the onboarding call and basically just kick everything off. So as I mentioned, onboarding call is really important. This is where you set the expectations with your new client. You never want to overpromise and underdeliver. And that's why the onboarding call is really important, because you can clearly show them what they should expect in terms of results, but also in terms of communication and how to contact you. And really in this call, there's no set structure. You just have to go on there and explain pretty much everything about what it looks like to work with you and your company. And that's pretty much it. That's roughly the kind of 4-step process that we follow. It works really well, and it means that we can get a quick enough turnaround time with our clients. So if they pay on a Friday, we're going to book in the onboarding call usually for Monday. And if they pay on a Monday, we'll probably book them in for Tuesday or Wednesday to have that kickoff onboarding call. So as I mentioned, you don't want to overcomplicate this process. You want to make it as basic as needs be, and just make sure it includes everything that you need for your agency. So if you don't have Slack, Google Drive, and Asana, don't worry, just apply it to whatever you use. If you want to learn more about the systems, processes, and automations I use to run my agency at a pretty high level, you can check out the link down below. My 6-figure accelerator program will teach you pretty much everything you need to know, plus you'll get weekly calls from myself to keep you accountable and to answer your questions. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got value. Make sure to drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.